Hey, and welcome to map 28 of Doom 2. Or is it? No, this is actually map 22 of the Doom 2 beta. So, the Spirit Worlds is a very interesting level, and its development very clearly is worth discussing because, as you can clearly see, this is not the Spirit Worlds that you know, at least not from the retail release of Doom 2. This is in fact pretty much a completely new level, but it does have features from the Spirit Worlds, because ultimately that is two separate levels that were kind of mushed together, and one of those is down here. Down there is the trap room that is in Spirit Worlds, and here's another room. So in the final retail release, there's actually a chain gun in place of that shotgun there, but these rooms here actually make it into the final Spirit Worlds level. So we'll grab this, turn out the lights, and we'll take out the enemies inside here. But it's fascinating seeing these parts of the Spirit World being used in a completely different level. And as you'll see when we go through this level, it's not just this part that ultimately turns up. Now, I can't speak for what was going on with the Spirit World. I can't tell you what was happening. But it's very clear that at some point after this beta, which, you know, was midway through 1994, it was clearly decided that these two levels were not worthwhile on their own, so they kind of decided to mush them together. We'll head down here. You will recognize this as the room that leads to the exit room in the Spirit Worlds. So there's a rocket launcher in there normally, because in the final Spirit Worlds level you have to shoot the walls to get through to the exits. So again, it's interesting that this part of this level is what makes it all the way to the final version of this level. I also think this is similar. I'm guessing that they liked these hidden traps here and just decided to kind of keep them. You can see that this is a lot more expanded than what we got in the final release, because in the final release this is just a linear corridor, but here there's a bunch of small rooms, there's pathways going in all directions, there's key doors here. There's also a lot more lost souls going on in this version of the level, which is slightly annoying, but we'll take care of all these guys. What's interesting is that this level is pretty complete as well. So as we're playing through it, we'll head in here. See, this is a very basic room. Now, rooms like this make me wonder if they were planning to sort of make this level more detailed, and then when it came back to doing it, they just kind of decided the level's not good enough. Because this is a very, very, very simple room. This is the kind of room you'd expect to see in like a person's first WOD that they're making. It's not a very particularly exciting room, and it's definitely not up to the quality of what you'd expect in a retail release. So we'll head inside there. So that's a red key that we need. But you can see, there's lots of little walkways in this level, and it's really interesting that this level seems to have like a very open approach, because there's so many different directions that you can head in. Now you will recognize this room, because this is in the final version of this level, and other than a few texture changes, it's functionally the same. Even with the Archvile, which we don't really want to deal with. So we're going to take this guy out here. Let's grab all this ammo, because we're going to need it here. Let's get rid of the Archvile there. Right. So it's interesting that this room again was chosen to make it to the final parts of the level, because in the retail version, as you'll see later on, and if you've experienced it, you kind of have to come in here to open up the platform to get back to the start of the level in Spirit Worlds. But in this version of the level, it seems quite optional, because there's nothing really essential here. I'm just kind of exploring this because this is very fascinating. Seeing this room in this state, the teleporter just kind of dumps you at the top of the room there, which is a bit weak. Now I'm going to save here because when I did a test run of this level, I actually managed to activate a glitch that brought all the roofs in the level down, and it completely broke the level. So I'm just saving, so if that happens again, we can sort of dive straight back in from here. So that takes us up to the supercharges there. The fact that that glitch even exists at all tells me that this level wasn't near completion. This is very much a work in progress. Now, this part here, for example, so one thing you'll notice about this beta level is that it's very wide. Like, there's a lot of areas where you can go and explore, and there isn't really anything there of super value. So we're looking through these grey rocks here. We're kind of wandering around here, and I can tell you there's nothing in here. Like, there's just a bunch of ammo and a bunch of enemies, but it does make me wonder, like, why they made this level so big in the first place. Because this is a massive level. Like, there's a lot of enemies in it, there's a lot of tight spaces, and it's interesting that they kind of decided to go this far into development with the level and then pulled it and just took little chunks of it. See, I'm not a fan of like big spaces like this because there's no real landmarks here to kind of guide our way, so we're just kind of wandering around, relying on the auto map to kind of guide us to where we've not been. Excuse me. But it's fascinating that this was kind of the direction they wanted to go in, for sure. It's very easy to get lost in here. Like, all the walls kind of look the same as each other, and you kind of have to head in the right way, otherwise you're just going to be going around in circles. Okay, so that's just teleported us back to the start, so that's kind of frustrating. Makes me wonder if they thought this level was too big. Like, this level was just A, too big, and just B, not up to the standard. So you can see this brings us out here. If you're getting the sense that there's a lot of like familiar looking rooms and like all the rooms kind of look the same in that section, you're not wrong. Like, this level is a bit of a pain to navigate at points. Oh wow, I nearly died there. That would have been rough. Oh wow. So you can see here, you can grab a bunch of ammo and the rad suit. So there's a blue door behind us there, which I'll go into in a bit because I want to grab some health. Oh my god, okay. So that just teleports you right into the middle of that space there. It's very claustrophobic at points, this level. It's very varied in terms of like the size of the rooms. There's a lot of these narrow corridors that you've got to kind of make your way through. Yeah, I'm not going in that trap room. So we'll head in this way. This is a completely different direction you can go in the level. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of Caco demons here just waiting to chew off our faces. So this is another part of the level I'm not a big fan of, because all these rooms kind of are boxy, they're not very well detailed, and in my eyes, like, I can kind of see why these didn't make the cut. Because as you can see, we're basically just wandering between brown rooms, which isn't all that interesting. But there is very much a kind of you choose your own direction with this level, because there are multiple paths that you can take, like, and I think that's really interesting. It would have definitely been one of the more open Doom 2 levels had this made it to retail. Although the level would have needed a lot of polishing in my opinion, because this is you can see very clearly this is a work in progress. So we go up the there's nothing in here. If we go up the stairs here, right, so there's these pinkies here that we need to get rid of. Now I know there's a super shotgun down here which we're going to grab. This is a very weird room, isn't it? So I can't put my finger on why, but this reminds me of the penultimate room in the Spirit Worlds, and I suspect this may be what became that room. Because it's textured very similarly, it looks very similar, and the way that those bony boys kind of came out of the floor there, it kind of reminds me of that room, so I kind of suspect that may have been the room that they kind of attached to this part here. So we're going to go into the trap room here. It's going to be something. Probably one of my least favourite Doom 2 rooms. Again, interesting that this made the cut. Excellent. So we've done a lot of exploring in this level, but I think the red key's in here. Very interesting that they make use of the like texture there in the across the doorway. That's not something that they really do in Doom 2 very often. You can see here, again, another basic kind of room here with the red key inside. So we're going to grab the red key and then we're going to head towards the red door. For all the trouble that we went through to get this red key, this certainly doesn't feel that rewarding, I have to say. So we'll head back out here. We've pretty much explored most of the level now. We want to head towards the blue door, I think. So I'm not sure if it was intentionally done or not, but you don't actually need to get either of the keys to get out of this level. As far as I can tell, you can literally just go up the elevator on the other side from where the blue door is that we just entered, and you can pretty much just head for the exit. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if that was just because, you know, they hadn't finished the design of this level, but it kind of just adds to the chaos that is this level, because the keys are not super easy to get. They're both in rooms with lots of Hell Knights and Barons of Hell, and in my opinion, the prize for getting the keys really isn't worth it. So in Doom levels, in my opinion, there has to be like a reward for the strife that the game puts you through, and in this level I definitely don't feel that it's on par. I feel like in this level it's very much like, oh, you can pick up these few little things, and it's like, that's not really worth it, is it? Let's be honest. Right, let's kill all these enemies here. Never gonna say no to a blue armor. There's just a lot of rooms in this level where it's either Caco Demons, or it's Hell Knights, or it's just a bunch of enemies that kind of are guarding items that might be interesting to the player, but like ultimately you don't need them to actually finish the level. So I don't want to grab the invulnerability because there's not much point at this stage. I will grab that, however, because for some reason, and you'll see it in a second when we head up this elevator here, they've decided to put a pain floor at the top of this elevator, which I have no idea why they thought that would be a good idea. it just seems really silly. But as you can see, we didn't need a key card to get up here, and when we go around this corner, it's the end of the level. So if you wanted to end the level, that's where you go. Oh, there's a room there that we haven't actually been to. I want to go and look in it. I do want to go and look in it. So we're gonna, you know what? I'm just gonna no-click through the wall here to get to it, because I want to sort of see how we get here. So this is a secret room off the throne room that we were talking about earlier. As you can see, there aren't even any textures on most of the walls here, so again, this seems like another room where there's not much happening in it. It's just a monster closet for the sake of a monster closet. So yeah, that's pretty much that room. There are some little closets behind these walls here, so I just want to kind of have a peek inside and see what's inside the walls here. Apologies if like you kind of wanted to see just like a no cheating playthrough, but I am eternally curious about what they were going to put in here. So you can see it's just more cacodemons. If I hit that, like, it just opens the door at the start of the room. You see more oh, there's an archvile there. So, I'm curious, why have they given you the light amplification goggles there? Was the intention for that room to go dark? You know, so the main room with the switch in it, was the intention that, like, that would go dark and then, like, all these enemies would follow you in? That could have been fun. I'm just speculating there, by the way. So there's a lot to say about this level. It's really not great. It's very meandering. The texture work kind of leaves a lot to be desired because a lot of the rooms feel very samey when you're walking around the corridors. There's a lot of monster closets that don't really offer a great reward for the player to go into. They just kind of feel like they're there to punish the player for stumbling into them. Getting hold of the key cards was not easy, especially if you're pistol starting and you don't bring your own weapons in. Like that blue key, for example, was it the blue or red key was in the room with the barons and the hell knights. Like, that's obscene. Like, if you're pistol starting, you really need to know what you're walking into there. I can totally understand why this level did not make the cut. But I now want to show you the other half of Spirit Worlds. So this actually is also in the beta. And as you can see, this is, well, kind of similar to what you know, but it's not similar to what you know. You can see that these doorways lead nowhere. This one, however, does lead somewhere. So you can see this part of the level is very much, you know, what the game will become. Now, because this is an incomplete level, I'm just going to use the weapon cheat here. So other than some texture changes, this is actually kind of remarkably similar to what we'd see in the final game. And so instead of the box of rockets there's actually a chain gun. So we're going to take out the pinkies here. So this is where you'd normally walk in and go to that room where you shoot the walls. However, as you can see, this is still very incomplete because it leads absolutely nowhere. So we're going to head down here and you'll see that this is kind of where the level here abruptly ends. Because, yeah, it's still very much a work in progress. And you can kind of see here where the two levels that we've seen were kind of mushed together, and it's really weird. It's really weird how they took this thing here and decided we're going to put it with the throne room and that room where you have to shoot the walls. So now that we've seen like how this level came to be, let's actually play the final level. And you can see here, this is the room where the shotgun was, and the lights are going to go out here. It's actually a bit easier in the final version here because they didn't stick a Revenant in there. I think the Bony Boy actually made this room a bit more challenging, especially with no armor. We'll take down the Caco Demon there. So we'll use these to turn on the lights. You can see down there, there's the trap room. We are going to go in there, but not right now. They also give you a super shotgun here, which I greatly appreciate. So the aim here is just to get rid of the pain elementals, and then we'll deal with the lost souls as and when we need. Just checking. I thought I'd left some health there, but I hadn't. Obviously from pistol start, this level's a bit more difficult because you have to face all these enemies right from the word go. We're going to take out all these lost souls. So once we drop down here, we aren't able to come back until we've gone to that throne room. But you can see the layout of this cavern area is very similar to what we saw in the beta just now. And I guess they really liked this because obviously they haven't really made any changes to this. And this kind of forms the backbone of this level, in my opinion. This starting area. So I know there's an archvile here. Yes, there is. You need to leave, like, right now, Mr. Archvile. The Spirit World is a very unique level for me. Like, there are very few Doom 2 levels that really capture the essence of feeling like you're actually deep in hell, like this level, in my opinion. And that's a combination of the weird patterns on the floor, the weird patterns on the walls, and just some interesting texture work. It definitely has an otherworldly feel, this level, that few other Doom 2 levels really managed to mimic. So here's that room we were talking about earlier on. So you can see they've kind of changed it a bit here. But if this doesn't take you right back to that beta level, I don't know what will. So we'll grab the rocket launcher here. In the beta, that was a plasma rifle. So you can see they've kept the room here with all the enemies that come charging out. And if you shoot here, this is the room I was talking about earlier on. As said, I don't know if this is the room, if this is the same room I was talking about earlier on. But I get a sense that like they might have just sort of moved that room over and put it there. Even if you don't like the Spirit World, you've got to kind of admit that it's got a unique identity among all the Doom 2 levels. So the fun thing is you can actually run up behind this door and grab the yellow key here. But you can't actually get back to the yellow door until you go on the other side of that door back to the throne room, because that's where the platform comes up. So you can see here the room is actually now complete, and there's a bunch of Raptrons down there in the lava pits which we are going to deal with. So I just want to grab this, blast these in the face. So sometimes these lost souls can actually get through the wall and they will attack you, like, no, that wasn't all. Sometimes they can actually get out, so it's best to get rid of these guys. So now that we've got the BFG, this room actually becomes a lot easier. Surprisingly, this room is not that difficult. There's also a yellow door that lets you get back up to the top part there. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've ever actually used the yellow door. There it is. The fact that there's 2 spider masterminds here and a bunch of invulnerabilities really kind of nerfs the fun that this battle could have had. So welcome to the slightly more funky version of the throne room here. So if we wanted to, we could actually just go to the yellow door and not trigger the trap in here. But I actually want to trigger it because it's kind of worth doing. One of my problems with this level is that they go way overboard with the invulnerabilities, and it completely kind of unbalances parts of the level because you're basically just walking around like a god, blasting the enemies. And while that's fun, it does get a bit old. It also means that, like, I don't know why I shot that. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to shoot all these bony boys here, because these bony boys here are a problem. Deal with all these spectres. So I can hear an archvile off in the distance. I'm assuming that's come from the exit room we went in earlier. So it's probably waking up a bunch of enemies as we speak right now. But I promised you we'd go into the trap room, and we're going to go in here. This is one of my least favourite rooms in Doom 2. It's kind of a completely optional room. I never usually come here in my playthroughs, and honestly, the rewards for coming here are kind of nullified when you realise that we've already got 171 health and 171 armour there, and we kind of don't need to come here. But I guess it's interesting that this carried over to this level, and they felt that this had to come with the level. But as you can tell from the Spirit World, this is very much a mishmash of two different levels that kind of got stuck together and were turned into one level. Oh wow. There's two archviles apparently. What have I done to deserve this? So you can see there's an archvile in there. Oh, there it is. I got very brave there because he could have very easily killed me without any armor. But yeah, that's the Spirit World. There's a lot to unpack in this. The Spirit World is not everyone's favourite level to begin with. And when you understand that it was basically two levels that were kind of pushed together into one level, it's easier to understand kind of how it came to be such a divisive level, because it's got two very distinct identities that kind of are being rammed together, and they didn't really do much to change those identities in the final level. So it leads to an interesting level. I personally love the aesthetics of this level. I just think there's a lot of things in the level that rub me the wrong way. For example, having to shoot to open the exit when that hasn't really been a thing throughout Doom 2. For me, bad design choice. But let me know what you think of the Spirit World. What did you think of the base level? And honestly, what's your opinion of this level?